You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Moline, the co-author of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I'll be sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. We got another a return guest that I'm really grateful that he's coming back on, and I'm really grateful because we deal with a number of roofing companies on our marketing agency, and we listen to every single phone call that comes through our client's business, and we take notes. We mark who answered the phone, what CSR answered the phone, if it was a new client, existing client, the notes, was there an appointment booked? We take all these notes, and it became alarming to us after we started doing this for a while, that appointments weren't getting booked as often as we thought. And so I saw our guest today, Chuck Thokey, talking about this. And I was like, man, would you come back on and have this conversation, because you had some amazing insights to share. So welcome back to the show, Chuck Thokey, top rep. How's it going today, man?
Man, I tell you what, we're getting ready for a top rep. But Jim, I am so happy to be back working with you. And this is a topic that I get excited about. This topic, even though I don't do much with phone rooms. I understand phone rooms and understand setting appointments, but typically instead of managing that phone room, I would hire a manager. But man, I am so passionate, because if even my Facebook post I sent out today, setting the lead many times is more important than selling the lead.
It's so important. And this I truly believe is the missing piece in the conversation. No one has really verbalized this well. And I know some really great contractors. I've had a couple on the show. Jason Phillips with Phillips Home Improvement down in Dallas. He has a call center. There's a few others that I know that they really dedicate some effort into this. Martin Pettigrew with Monarch Roofing, they really do a good job in the way that they manage this. And those are, looking at success, right? Like modeling successful companies. And then, of course, the company that you work with, or do you still work with Able Roof, Mr. Roof?
No.
No. Okay. That you worked with in the past, right? I'm sure that they had very extensive, they had those same type of situations, right? So if you can replicate this on a smaller level for your $2 million company, $5 million company, $10 million company, man, that will make a difference.
I'm telling you, it just like you mentioned, Able Roof and Mr. Roof. I mean, they've got 15 people in a room, and that's what they do. But then when you get to someone that's, 2 million, 3 million, you just need to start with one.
That's right.
Start with one. And this cannot be your CSR, your customer service representative. Yeah. This has to be a phone person. That's all they do is set leads. If you have this person, and many times when I'm talking with a client, it's the owner's wife, or the owner's daughter or whatever, which is fine. But understand that, if there's so many other things that this person needs to be doing, but setting leads has to be their primary.
And I think Jason Phillips said it very well when I interviewed him, and it was he didn't say setting, he said selling. And I was like, I love the way that you framed that, right? Like selling the appointment. And so, when you're able to do that, here's what the way I look at things, because from marketing, right? Somebody goes on Google or however they find you, right? But let's say they go on Google and they start calling, right? They start calling companies, whether it's in the map pack, maybe it's in the maps, and they're like, oh, this company has good reviews. Let me give them a call. The first thing that happens is if you don't answer, they're calling the next company that they see with more good reviews, right? They'll call the next best, listing there that they could do. So the first thing is you have to answer your phone, right? If you don't answer your phone, people are moving on these days. They move on quickly. If you are responding to, a lead from a lead aggregator, boy, you better be on that quickly, right? You can't let, there was data that I saw that was, if you let a lead from a lead aggregator or online lead sit for more than 5 minutes, you have an 80% less chance of ever getting a hold of that person. Not ever setting the appointment, not ever closing the deal. We're talking about just getting a hold of them. So first, answering the phone, right, is the biggest thing, right? So get your phone answered. So having that person in office that's dedicated to managing that web form lead or that phone call and getting on the phone with them right away. Now let's move on to the more advanced stuff, right? What other things would that person need, or how would you set them up for success in that role?
So technology is very key, and it doesn't mean that you need to invest in all of this right up front if you're much smaller, but you need a CRM that enables you to attach a headset and just click a button to dial. Nobody wants to sit there anymore like the old smoky phone rooms and they're just dialing the 10 numbers. They just want to be able to look at it, hit it, and dial it. Yep. And it's speed to lead, but also speed to dial. So that's big. Having the headsets, they shouldn't be doing this. You're going to be paying for a chiropractor soon. They should have the headsets. And those headsets, obviously, because of COVID now, you have to have dedicated headsets. Yeah. And from there, you can, it's advised to have a dialer. Now, I'm not saying that you always have to have the predictive dialers. I'm not saying run right out and get 5-9 or Chase or any of those, but having a dialer so that it's automatic. It dials that phone number automatically.
So for those that don't know this technology, contractors that are like, Chuck, what the heck is a dialer? Explain the functionality of a dialer, what you would look for in a dialer if you were going to shop for one.
So my favorite dialer it's called Chase Data. It's easier to set up. The more popular one is what they call 5-9. It is very hard to set up. You need an IT company to set this up. 5-9 typically doesn't help out much. And but yet what these are, sometimes they can be predictive dialers, which means they're dialing 5 numbers at a time, waiting for somebody to pick up. Now, this kind of goes along with branding, because if you're dialing 5 numbers, 2 picks up, 1's not getting you. So you have to be very careful. When I advise people to go out and get a dialer, I use it just to dial 1 number at a time. Yep. You can get through a list very quickly, but you're also, when someone's picking up and there's your name, there's Abel Roof and nobody's at the other end, or that it takes, 3 seconds, 4 seconds for someone to answer. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, there's an impression in that. It's definitely, they can feel that. And we know when that's happening nowadays, right? You've had it happen to you. You answer a call and then you notice that pause, and then all of a sudden someone's there and it's it doesn't feel as good, right? It doesn't feel as good. So a dialer will dial out to these your leads automatically, get them on the phone. And now, speaking through the headset, so you're able to type their information into the CRM, things like that. Having all your calls recorded, right? That's another big one, making sure that the functionality, I don't know if the dialer will do that for you. I know, we use our call tracking systems and phone systems, for that. But
most the VoIP systems
yeah,
have the
most,
recording,
that's right. Yeah.
and you
So
can
most
go to
voice over.
level 2,
Yep.
which is a company called Call Source, and not only will they record it, but they'll audit it for you. So
Wow.
you may the sales manager or the owner might get a phone call, say, hey, we just recorded this call, we just listened to it, you might want to get back in touch with this, your caller didn't do a very good job and I think they missed an opportunity. So there's a lot of that out there as well.
So, and this is where we're like, why I like to frame this as the missed opportunity, right? Because this is what you'll do with your sales reps, right? You would spend this time to make sure that their pitch is right. You know what I mean? That they're saying the right things, that they're dialing in your scripts or your sales formula or framework, however you guys work it in your business, right? Like, but we miss this. Like, it's like, oh, just answer the phone and just ask them if we could come out on Thursday, right? Like, it's the weirdest thing to me that this is just, it's so overlooked. It's so overlooked. So now they have the equipment, the tools, right? They're equipped with their tools. They're equipped with the dialer. The calls are recorded. They have their headset. They're ready to go. So you had mentioned Call Source, and Call Source listens to these calls. Kind of, I mean, that's what we do for our clients too, and try to give that feedback. But it comes down to what they say a lot of times. So let's talk about what they should say. They have the tools to say it. Now, what should they be saying on those lead sets to set
So
those
I'm
leads
glad
up?
so this part right here, understanding what to say and how to actually book this appointment. So many people look at appointments, they're like, oh, nobody could have sold that. No, if it was set up right, it could have been sold. When people say, oh, I run all these one-leggers, it's not the customer's fault because you ran a one leg. It's the person that took the information, because if it was set right, it wouldn't have been. And so, I was, me and 3 other sales, I guess you can say gurus, we're all sitting there and they're like, oh, Chuck, we all need to run one-leggers now. That's just the culture that we're in. I'm like, no. Because one company out of 3 is going to set this right. And so 2 companies, let's say there's 3 companies, A, B, and C. A and B come out, or let's say that A comes out and, it's just the husband because that wasn't set right. And of course, they always need to, I need to check with my wife. I need to run this past my wife. And so then let's say that B comes out and it's just the wife. Well, now you've got to wait for the husband. Then C comes out and just so happens that both of them are there. The other 2 companies are great companies, may even be better suited for that homeowner than C, but C said it right. Guess who's selling it? C does.
That's
because
right.
Both are there. They both get to approve at the same time and they both get to buy. So this is so important on how it's set. So part of this is the caller has to be scripted. Now, just like a sales rep, we script a sales rep, but we also let them to have their own flavor. And same thing with a caller is they need to be scripted so that when we're going through the call through a recording, I'm like, hey, wait a minute, that's not how we went through this. That's why we didn't set this, is you went off script. And so there's certain things that, like if it's a lead aggregator, we mandate that the caller's on for a certain period of time. Because you mentioned, and this is being taught now that you have to call within 5 minutes. Well, companies that understand lead aggregators know that they're going to call within 30 seconds. They're going to get that homeowner on the phone, and that caller is mandated to be on the phone for 10 minutes. There's a certain script that they go through. They talk really slow, and they're on the phone for 10 minutes. And, again, here comes all these people that were told to call within the first 5 minutes, and they're getting their answering machine.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Now there's strategy, right? Like
it's strategy.
Like
Everything
how,
we do is strategy.
yeah. And so that type of stuff is amazing. So just, I'm going to just recap that real quick. Okay. So lead aggregators, right? Like Home Advisor, something like that. Lead comes in, it's going to 5 other companies as soon as, like, the same time you're getting it, 5 other companies are getting it. You're on the phone with them as soon as possible. And essentially you're blocking the other people from talking to them.
That's right.
And there's always the price shoppers out there. There's always the price shoppers. You're always going to get them. But I truly believe that when someone is reaching out, when a lead is, prospective customer is reaching out and they have a problem, that I think a lot of times they feel that problem gets solved when the appointment is set, not when the job is complete. What do you think? Do you think I'm nuts about that, or do you think I'm on the right track there?
It's funny. I hadn't really thought of that, but you're right. Every time that I have an issue, if it's our AC goes out or whatever,
Yeah.
when I make that appointment, I feel like, oh, man, I got it taken care of. And I still don't have AC, but
You still don't
I feel
have
like I
AC,
got it taken care of.
but you feel it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I'm like, man, that's it. That's what it is. It's when you have an appointment set, that's when you feel like your problem is solved. And
Yeah,
so unless you are, there, you may get to the kitchen table and they may want to get other bids and they may want to do other things, but a good majority of people are just going to, like, you're here, you can solve my problem. I think I saw a stat on this, and I'll throw all kinds of crazy stats around this stuff today, but it's 50% of people go with the person that they sit down with first, right? That it's like, so even if you increase your odds just by being the first at the kitchen table, right? How have you
right.
seen that in your experience?
No, it's exactly right. But yet you have a persona out there that you got to be number 3, because they think, oh, everybody goes with number 3. They're sick and tired of seeing everybody. And so finally they're just ready to get it done. And there's a certain piece of truth in that. But if you're trying to be number 3, then you're going to get a lot of cancels, because you're going to get some closers in there that are going to close it before they ever get to number 3. If I'm not being arrogant when I say this, but if you come across our organization, we're going to close it before it ever gets to number 3.
Yeah. And that the other part about getting to number 3, being number 3, that I feel happens sometimes is that's the negotiator position. Like when you're in that to me feels like they've gotten two other estimate. It's not a lot of times you're the person that has to negotiate to get the job. And they may be willing to share with you with the first and second bid, right? Like, hey, John's Roofing came in at this, Bob's Roofing came in at this, if you can do better, so, but if Bob's Roofing or John's Roofing can provide enough value, you'll never talk to that person. Right. So.
And if we ever are number 3, we take advantage of it. There's no doubt. Early on, we asked the question, have you ever looked into this type of technology before? And they're like, oh, yeah, we've had 2 other people coming out. And it's like, there we go. That's what I needed to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they have some experience, and we can, we're going to go through every step of the sale. We're going to do it so well. And then we're going to ask, so what did the other people say when they got in your attic? Well, they didn't get in the attic. So again, we have that opportunity to take the number 1 and number 2 and throw them in the trash. The other thing is when I get to the close and I say, here, I have the opportunity to save you some money. Hold on to those estimates for me. Those are going to save you some money. And they're looking at me like, what? So I'm going to give the pricing. I'm going to give everything over to them. Say, I have one more way of saving money. You said you had 2 estimates. Yeah, I'll buy those 2 off of you, $100 each. Is that okay? I'm like, well, yeah, go ahead and give those over. We'll go ahead and take care of it. And again, it just, I could care less about those 2 estimates, but they feel that their time was well spent with those other 2 people now.
Yeah.
hey, the couple hours you spent with each one made you $100.
That's right. That's awesome. You always have you always have these great lines for stuff like that. So let's go a little bit back to the scripting, right? So for that lead aggregator lead, they're gonna use a defensive script. It's gonna be long. What other styles of scripts would you have in the playbook there?
So one of the things that, when you're booking your appointment, we use this term initial appointment. And we just need both of you for the initial appointment. And for all subsequent appointments, it's totally up to you. Well, if you do it right, there's no subsequent appointments for one. But again, we want them to feel comfortable. It's like when I come in and I let everybody know that, I'm going to leave you a price that's good for a year. Well, if you actually think that I'm going to give you a year to think about this, you're crazy. But, I need them to, go from here to, oh, okay.
Okay.
And that's the only way I can do this, when we tell them that we just need the both of you for the initial appointment. And then for all subsequent appointments, that's totally up to you who's there for it. And so therefore, we typically won't have much blowback. Every now and then we'll get, oh, he's a trucker. He's never on, he's never here. It's like, oh, we come out on the weekends. Does he come home on the weekends? So, we get lucky every now and again.
Yep.
But when we show up and both of them are there and it was set correctly, that's why our close rate it goes up so fast.
What other expectations can that person set in that around that appointment that help to seal the deal down the road?
So when we set the appointment, we gear them up for how much time. So we want to make sure that all homeowners are there. We like to say decision makers. However, that's not a good thing to tell a homeowner, hey, is all decision makers going to be there?
That's right.
I mean,
yeah.
It's like reaching through the phone and punching them in the face. So, we just want to make sure that all homeowners are present. And every now and then you'll get, well, he wasn't here because he's my boyfriend. He's not a homeowner. It's like, okay, we're splitting hairs. But, then we want to make sure that there's enough time for the appointment. So we let them know that we need 60 to 90 minutes. We most likely won't need that much, because I don't want them, thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be a long appointment. We most likely won't need that. We just want you to allot the time of 60 to 90 minutes for us. So that gives them the opportunity to understand that I'm not going to just jump up on their roof, or I'm not going to run around their house and check out windows and be just dropping an estimate. But one thing that we don't do is we do not go through what's going to happen through the appointment. We don't want to do that.
Okay.
That is something that you have to leave some mystery.
Yep.
That's something that if they knew everything, they wouldn't need you.
Yeah.
So we leave some mystery, as well as there's times when they're going to explain everything that's going to happen. And depending on what happens when the sales guy gets there, that may not happen. So they're going to say, well, the person on the phone said you were going to do this, and they were going to do this, and you were going to do this. Well, maybe because of how that appointment was set and what happened once I got there are two totally different scenarios.
So you're not saying, hey, Chuck's going to come out and he is going to do a full walk around of the exterior first. Then he's going to get on a ladder and get on the roof. And then he's going to come inside and get in the attic. Because if Chuck comes out and gets on his ladder first and goes on the roof, they go, well, what did you do? You were supposed to inspect the outside first. And am I on track there with kind of what you're saying? So
Right.
You're just saying,
exactly
hey,
right.
Chuck's going to need 60 to 90 minutes with you to do his full inspection and get all of the things that he needs to provide you with the right estimate, or with the correct estimate, or something like that.
Now we will, if this is a roof, and we use Hover. I'm sure everybody uses Roofer and Eagle View and so many others, but we use Hover. And so we get the homeowner involved. We found a lot of success in this. We let them know that we're going to send you an email. We're going to send you a text. And, that's going to walk you around what you need to do for us. And people love it. At first we were nervous, but people really get into it. they think it's so cool that it comes up with, okay, stand on front of your house and match it up, take that picture. They really get into it. So I would recommend that, so that when they get there, they have the opportunity of getting the full hover.
Yeah. And that's a cool, like, a lot of people will think, well, no, they don't want to do anything. They don't want to be a part of this. Right. But you're finding that that they enjoy the process.
Yeah. The more they get involved in the process, the more dedicated and the commitment that they give to you. So if I'm the only one that does that, everybody else just comes out, drops in and shows them a bunch of samples and gives them a proposal. And then I'm the one that asks them to, get the hover pictures, and then I can get them involved when I get there to show them what comes up once they, what their efforts produced. And, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to get into your attic and I'll show you exactly what's in your attic. And again, they're going to remember the time that we came out because of the fact that they really helped us out, and we appreciate that.
And that's one that I've never sold roofing. So this, it may be different, but how many companies get someone in the attic versus just on top of the roof? No one does, right? Like, it's not
you'd be shocked if maybe 1 in 50 companies actually get in the attic.
In the attic. That's a different. And so you're using that as a differentiator then, like, hey, did they get in the attic? Because if they didn't get in the attic, then they didn't see half the roof, right? They didn't see the under half of the roof.
Yeah. I have a client in Pennsylvania, and we trained them right. We brought these guys in. They've never been on a roof before, so they were brand new to roofing, and we trained them on what to do every single step of the way. And every one of them, they get into the attic, they do their videos, and so they're at a 60. They're crushing it.
Yeah.
And so then I've had others in that area, other roofing companies in that area, and they don't know that I'm working with them, but they'll say, hey, there's this company that we can't touch. They'll even say they want their roof. They don't even know what brand they're using. And I smile the biggest smile because I know who they're talking about. It's just, these other companies see the domination that they have because they do every single step. They get into the attic every time. And now they might just peek their head into the attic and shine a light around. Yep. I have some of them that will crawl in, and others, they're a little bigger, so they're not getting in the attic, but they can peek up and they can really, use their light, and it's perception.
Yeah, definitely. It's perception. And that's, that's a big thing. So you did say something a little bit ago, like, there was like, oh, my boyfriend wasn't here, he's not a homeowner, or like something like that. So just going back to that for a second, what happens if you do hit the one, run into the one-legger, end up on a one-legger?
So you use that hover, you use I don't care what company you use for your measurements. Yeah. But you can let them know that once you find out, and before you start showing them measures, you want to make sure that all homeowners are present. But if you get there and you find out that they're not, you let them know, hey, no problem, no worries. What we're going to do today is I'm going to do a full inspection. I'm going to come back down. I'm going to show you the pictures. I'm going to show you the videos. But ultimately, it's going to take a few hours for those measurements to come back. And so when is a good time that I could come back and meet with both you and Molly? And, I have the measurements. The problem is Molly's not there to see them. So I'm going to use that instead of saying, come on, I'm sure Molly wants to be involved in this decision, right? Yeah. What do you think they're going to say? Oh yeah, she's not going to let me buy anything. No, the guy's going to be a guy, and he's going to say, come on, I'm buying this thing. When it comes right down to it, he'd better show Molly,
That's right. Better show Molly. So then other things. So we're, just to recap, get the tools in place, right? The tools in place to give your person that is setting these appointments just the right things that they need to be comfortable, to be able to enter the enter the information with, having the headset on, so they're not, ear against the phone, going to the chiropractor soon. We're giving them scripts to, we're giving them scripts to manage leads in a proper way. Getting people involved in the initial appointment for not the, not saying, and we don't need you for subsequent appointments. I like that one. Setting an expectation on time, but not process of the meeting. What other things can that appointment setter do to help the salesperson be ready for what they're getting themselves into out there on the field?
So we look at a qualified lead as all decision makers, the amount of time that is needed for the appointment, and a need that we can satisfy. So I'm not sending them out to a trailer with a tin roof.
Yep.
Those are the three things that we look at as a qualified lead. The other thing that we want to push is you're going to have a lot of these bigger companies that will purposely overbook because they have sales reps, and the last thing they want to do is lose a time slot. Every time slot on your calendar, and you should have 3 for each sales rep. If you're retail, you should have 3 for each sales rep, and even time blocking that sales rep so that the sales rep has times that they can run their own leads. And then there's these times, whatever times those are, that these are company slots. Everything else is up to you, but these are our slots. You don't touch them. That way, when people are booking their own leads, they know what to stay away from. And when home office books a lead, they know it can be run.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because if the sales rep is if you're trying to book it, that's one of the things that we hear on the phone a lot, right? Is, well, let me call John and see when let me have John reach out to you when he's available, right? Like, so now the sales rep, John, the person, in the office that's answering the call, they don't have a good way to book on their calendar. So they have to defer this now. And now in the time between, the office person speaking to that person and John getting back to them to get on his calendar, there's that gap where people call other companies, right?
That's right.
And so, I like that idea of saying, hey, these spots during the week, leave this open. This is where we're going to put ours. So now the office knows John's available every, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoon, or that they can book on John's schedule during this time. They know he'll be available because that's company time. Does that make that's what you're saying? Yeah.
So kind of letting the cat out of the bag, when you're looking at these large companies, they use 10, 2, and 6.
10,
those
2,
are
and 6.
company.
Okay.
Those are company times.
Yep.
So anytime in between there, if you want to grab a pickup, whatever the case may be, you do not touch 10, 2, and 6. Now, granted, when we get into daylight savings time, it comes down to like a 4 or 5, depending on the sunlight. But those things, it's typically 10, 2, and 6.
So that's good to know. And then, do you do anything like any kind of like, do you rate the leads in any way when or the appointments in any way to say, oh, this is a 5-star one, this is a 5-star, Chuck, you're going into a good one here? Is there anything like that you can recommend people to do?
You don't want your salespeople to see this, but you can rate them A, B, and C.
Okay.
Many people just do an A and B. If you have a C, why are you even booking it? But typically you have an A and a B. A means this is a great lead. This does not move. Then you can pair a B with an A, which means if this thing confirms, if my A confirms, I'm calling the B to reschedule it. The other thing is if I'm looking and there's a B, I don't want my top rated sales reps running that B. I'm going to take a newer rep and put that B over here, because these A, and I've heard so many companies say, well, I'm going to take the easier sale and I'm going to put it on the newer guy. I'm like, absolutely not, because that's a sure sale and you're going to give it to somebody that might lose it? No, no,
Yeah.
no, no. I'm going to take a sure sale and give it to a sure rep.
Yeah.
Make sure that I'm not going to lose that deal. I look at when people look at NFL coaches and they say the best coaches know how to manage the clock, the best managers know how to manage that sales schedule.
Yeah. I know you and Adam Bensman had some conversations recently about some things that you disagreed upon, but I've heard him say that a few times too. His opinion also is give the best leads to the best closers. Don't make sure those things are getting closed is the thought process there. So it's like, man, don't mess with this. It's one wrong thing that someone says and you you have reduced your return on investment on that marketing dollar, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it. And then the ones that you're not so sure on, those B leads, now you weren't sure about it in the first place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, that new rep can even if they say something, you weren't as confident that one was going to close in the first place.
Right.
But you're not telling the reps that you're doing this.
No, the reps don't see that. Your CRM should give you two separate places for notes that the reps can see and notes that only management can see.
Yeah.
Because that's where we put the A and the B's, but that's also where we're going to put, I just saw one today where it stated that this client or this prospect does not want a high pressure sales rep. Well, I'm sending Donald out. Donald is as smooth as they come. He may not be my top closer, but man, he's soft spoken. Everybody loves him. He's a charmer. And so I'm sending him. He's not my top guy. And this was an A-rated appointment. So it doesn't always mean you send your great leads to your great reps. What I'm saying is match that lead to the rep that has the best. That's why the notes are so important, but those notes need to be hidden so that the sales rep. I've had some notes as where the caller ends with "good luck." I'm like, you never tell a sales rep good luck.
That's crazy.
I'll get it where they says these people aren't looking to buy till next year. Yeah, let me send that over to a sales rep and see how happy he is.
That's right. They are not going to be very happy for that. Yeah. The other thing is, some people connect with people differently, right? Like that's a good way to distribute lead flow also. You might have that rep that they go into the gated community and they're, they just have that, they connect there and they can sell well. But you send them down to a more working class community and they have a hard time. And then there's the other rep that'll sit there on the truck and have a beer with them and close the deal. There's many different types. There's personality types. Do you feel that personality plays into the sales process and in a way that's impactful? Is it a meaningful thing? I know you have a lot of great training and systems and processes to where you're trying to alleviate the differentiation between a rep, right? But how much do you think that might play into it sometimes?
If you had professionals that could say this personality is going to go with this rep, that would be great. The problem is a lot of times the caller that you have, I'd almost be afraid to take their advice as to what kind of personality they're talking to.
That's right.
I mean, there's happy and sad, and this guy is just an a-hole, whatever. But as to pair up personalities is not good.
It would be too hard to do it from that initial phone call. You're not giving them a disc profile while they're on the phone with you booking an appointment and or personality tests and things like that. Yeah.
And I've had where companies say, oh, we're going to record the call, and that way the sales manager can listen to it. And the sales manager, many of these sales managers, they're sending out 30 to 50 calls a day, and or moving the appointments around. They don't have time to sit there and listen to a whole call. Some of those are 10, 15 minutes, so they just don't have time for that. So they're going to pair it the best they can. And when the sales rep goes in, if that sales rep is trained correctly, they understand what we train is the platinum rule by Dr. Tony Alessandra. I mean, we've studied it. We've worked with Dr. Tony, and I mean, when we train a rep on that and help them understand what a director, socializer, relator, and thinkers are, they can do it within minutes, and they know who they're talking to. They're going to put them in that quadrant, and they're going to treat them as such. And so that's, do not go in and try to do the disc. I think this guy's like a high D, low I. Yeah. You're never going to get it.
No, I just threw that out there. But so it's the platinum. What do you use? The platinum
rule. The guy that is the creator of this is Dr. Tony Alessandra. He's got a couple of videos and books out there, but we actually train it in Top Rep.
Yeah, and that's interesting because there are different. I mean, you're going to come across different types of people, and they make buying decisions differently. Right. I am a terrible person to sell to, Chuck. I don't know which one of the platinum rule things I fall into, but I'm that researcher.
You're the thinker.
Like, I am so terrible to deal with on the sale on the sales side. People have to be real patient with me because I need to know every detail. And so what are the other? So I'm a thinker. That I fit into that one. What are the other ones? What are the other ones in that group?
Yeah. So you have your thinkers, which are your engineers, your accountants. These are people that when they tell you they need to think about it, they probably actually do. Most people are lying to you when they tell you that. But when you deal with an accountant or engineer, now I'm not saying you don't take them through the closing roadmap and try to close them, but you do in the back of your mind, that, I need to leave this. I need to leave Jim with all the specs, with everything that I can, because that's what's going to get you to buy, is the fact that I took the time and like we use a thing called Leap. And so in our resources, I can just say, I want this, 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 and this, and I'm going to send them all to Jim. Jim's going to like this. So that's how we deal with thinkers. When we deal with directors, we got to get to the point. I'm a director. People is like, oh, Chuck, you're a salesman. You got to be a socializer. Ask my wife. You have about 26 minutes before I've checked out, And so when we were looking for people for our kitchen, and I don't have my attention span is very short. And so when the guys, I'm going to cut him off. I'm like, okay, I heard enough about this. I need to hear about this. And so I'm a buyer. First and foremost, I'm a buyer. Maybe that's the salesman in me, but I don't want to hear everything.
Yeah.
So, directors, you need to be to the point, get there fast. Socializers, these are your sales guys. These are your cheerleaders. If you sell a socializer, these are the people you ask for referrals from. These are the people you ask for reviews from. But also you got to be careful with socializers because they usually buy before they're sold. So they're the ones that love that 3-day rescission as well. And then you have your relators. These are your go along to get along. I don't like to say this, but I was in a house with another really good sales rep, and the lady, she was just an older lady. She's like, I just don't know what to do. And this guy's name's Carl McNaughton. He looks over and he goes, ma'am, I know exactly what we need to do. She goes, what? You do? He's like, yeah, you need to go upstairs, get your checkbook, bring it back down, just write us a check for this amount. She goes, that's exactly what I need to do. And I was like, this can't be real. I'm getting punked right now.
this happened.
And that's your relator that go along to get along, And we call what we do is when we understand that they're a relator, we call it the preacher close. We let them know what they need to do, and so they'll just make it happen.
Nice. And that's that, understanding who you're talking to, that's a great thing to know in the sales process. So I just truly believe that everyone listening, you guys are missing out. You have a piece missing from your business, and that is getting the appointment set properly, the right expectations to set your sales reps up for the optimal amount of success, right? The best closing rates possible. And it, again, there is a return on investment that you are missing. It is a big gap if you are not doing this in an efficient manner, in a systematized manner. You're missing out on money. And so, and we talked about this last time when you were on the show about selling to different lead sources differently, right? And there's such, and I'm going to use this as an example, like the home advisor leads, because there's such a stigma around them, and that they're terrible and that they can't close. And I talk to contractors all the time that do, that, oh yeah, we did 3 million last year off from our home advisor leads. And then we did, and I go, wait, you did 3. And then you talk to someone else and they can't close a home advisor lead for anything. A lot of it is putting the right processes in place for all of these parts of your business. But I think we got to one here, Chuck. I think we got to hopefully this hits home for a lot of people, and they can make some kind of adjustment, because when you're putting your marketing dollars out there, that marketing is an investment. It's not an expense. But if you don't have the right systems in place, it will become an expense in your business.
Yeah.
And so, what do you got going on? What do you got going on coming up that you can tell the audience about?
So Top Rep is coming up. We have we have Atlanta and March 7th and 8th. That is filling up fast. We have some new technology coming out that I want to share with you because I'm so excited about it. This is literally going to change the industry, and really, it's without telling you too much, it's really going to moneyball the industry. So, it's the analytics and how we change things. And, many people have already seen that what we've done with Engage, but that's just the tip of the iceberg from what we're going to be doing this year. So, Atlanta, you do not want to miss Atlanta. It's March 7th and 8th. I don't care if you have a vacation scheduled, cancel it, get there. We have Dallas and March 28th and 29th. And then we have Denver, April 11th and 12th. And so these are all going to be big events. And we're doing this early on instead of spreading it throughout the year. We're doing it early on because it's so important to get there, get the information so that your year explodes. If you haven't heard, we had and this is, I love this story. We had on our first Top Rep last June, we had Anson Eldridge, and he's a young guy, and he comes up to me in June, and me and Jim, I believe me and Jim were together when he comes up to us, and he says that I haven't started yet. This is just something that I've been looking at doing some sales, and but I'm going to master this system. And I've heard this so many times. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's great. You almost want to reach over and go, okay, good job. Yeah. And but he was serious, and so I says, hey, whatever we can do to help you, you let us know. So then he comes back, and so he doesn't really place. He worked hard, but he didn't place because it's a competition in that Top Rep. So he came back in November. And so he didn't just win Top Rep, he dominated Top Rep. We were throwing flashcards up the first night, and he was doing this, and it's hard for me to say this, but he was doing the flashcards better than me, and I wrote them. I mean, I was blown away. Because usually I'm just doing one flashcard, giving you some points, and I just kept going. Every flashcard he was giving right to me. And so by the end of the year, so from June through December, this young man sold $2.4 million using the system.
That's awesome.
He mastered it. And he's going to be coming to, I believe, Dallas, and he's going to help out. And so if you come in and we have the top 10% get black shirts. And what's nice with the black shirts is, they're, to get a black shirt, you have to be in the top 10%, and you get to come back to any event for free, as well as, if you're the top rep, you get like a wrestling belt. We used to do the jackets, and it's so hard to get. So we're doing the wrestling belt so that you have your name, you have top rep champion, but also you get $1,000 for winning top rep. But also you get to come back for that opportunity. You get a chance to speak if you'd like, as well as train. So we want to make sure that these top reps and these black shirts continue to increase, and hopefully over time they get to become sales managers and teach others the same thing. So again, but Atlanta is March 7th and 8th. I hope I get to see a lot of your attendees there.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of that. Learn, do, teach, right? It brings that reinforcement back. You get to learn things on such a different level when you have to teach it to someone else. Chuck, thanks for your time today. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more sales through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com and get a copy of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thanks for listening.